Hi everyone, welcome back to another session today. So we're going to come straight onto our feet today. Just going to get straight into the movements. We're going to begin with a little bit of balance work, just trying to strengthen up the legs. Don't worry if you're feeling a little bit tight here. We'll do this to begin with, then once we've got them activated, we'll begin to loosen off. So to begin with, we're going to work on tree pose. So taking our right foot down to the ground, we're going to splay out the toes nice and wide. We're going to take our left leg and we're going to lift it up, bringing our base of our feet to the inside of our hip. We're then going to try and open out the knee so that we're creating a nice 90-degree bend, and then keeping nice and straight, nice and flat. Continuing to stand nice and tall here. Don't worry if you wobble a little bit, it's perfectly natural. It means you're activating all the little motor muscles. And then maybe see if you can lift your hands overhead, maybe keeping them straight, or if you got flexibility, raising them up high enough to bring them together. So we're looking for a nice length here, nice and tall. We're just going to continue to breathe nice and deep in through the nose and out through the nose. So really ground through your foot, keeping the hips nice and open. Then on an exhale, we'll release, and then whoa, slowly taking our time to bring our left foot to the ground. Feel free to shake out the leg if you need to. We're just going to take it to the other side, so this time grounding the left foot. We're bringing the right foot up, placing it inside of our thigh, opening out nice and straight, keeping everything nice and aligned. Then maybe seeing if we can bring our arms overhead. This part's always tricky, especially when you're trying to talk through it. Bring our hands up nice and tall. We're just reaching for the sky here. We're getting as much length as we can, straightening everything out. So we shouldn't have our elbows wide, just trying to clasp our hands together. The act is to pull upwards, really reach for the sky. And then if you're as far as you can go, eventually your hands will just naturally come together. So we're trying to stay up nice and long here, engaging all the little motor muscles, a little bit the core, just everything that's holding us in place here, preventing us from collapsing in on ourselves. And then in our own time, come to the ground. Sometimes you'll come down a little more gracefully than others, but just grin and bear it, just laugh it off if you come down a little bit harder. So coming to the tops of our mats, we're going to keep our feet hip width apart, and then we're going to take a nice big inhale. We're just going to exhale, folding over, pinging from the hips. We're just going to come into a forward fold, exhaling out, inhaling, coming up to a nice flat back. And then with our middle and index finger, we're going to grab hold of our big toes. Take another big breath, and then exhale, just ease forward here, leaning over, letting the head hang loose. See if you can rest your abdomen on your thighs. If you find this a little bit tough, where you're not quite resting on your legs, feel free to just introduce a little bit of a bend into the knees. That'll just allow you to straighten the back a little bit more here. So you're still getting that nice stretch, but you're avoiding any tension. And then over time, you can just introduce straightening out of the knees, until it starts to feel uncomfortable. We're just going to hang out here for a few breaths. Then from here we're going to come up to a nice flat back. This time we're going to take our hands, go bring them underneath our feet if that's available to you. Don't worry, you might need to bend your knees a little bit more to get that distance down. It really depends on the length of your arms. Then inhale again to nice flat back. And exhale, fold forward. Again, maybe introducing a little bit more of a bend here. Keeping the shoulders back away from the ears. Just breathe nice and deeply. On an inhale, come up to a flat back. Exhale, we're going to leave our hands on the ground here. We're just going to take a nice long step back, straight into downward dog. So as this is the first one of the day, feel free to pedal it out if you need to. We're just going to hang out here, continuing that nice long stretch into the back body, down the back of the legs, letting the head hang loose. And really getting into a position where you can feel a stretch occurring, but at the same time you could easily just hang out here for as long as you need to. Then on an inhale, we're going to begin by bringing our left leg forward, turning the back leg out 45 degrees. We're going to rise up into standing, bend, keep straightening out that front leg. We're going to come into reverse prayer pose and take our hands behind our back, really pushing the arms against each other into both sides of the palm. Opening out the shoulders. We're going to take a nice big inhale. And then exhale, folding over that front leg. So remember to continue pushing your hands together. Continue to open up the shoulders, pulling them down and away from the ears. For your hip flexors, see if you can engage your knee, pulling up on the quads. That will engage the hip flexors, giving you a bit more stability. Then on your next exhale, we're going to release the hands, bring them to the ground in front of our front foot, and exhale, kick back, straight back into downward dog. I'm just going to take a few breaths here. And on your next inhale, we're going to bring the right leg forward, Turning the left leg out 45 degrees again. Rising up nice and strong. Straightening out that front leg. And similar to before, taking our hands behind us, really pressing the palms into one another. Keeping the shoulders nice and open. Take a nice big inhale. And then as we exhale, just gradually fold over that front leg. So try not to rush the breath here. Try and just gradually inhale, slow down the exhales. If you find a little bit of an issue with balance, sometimes it can be the sudden inhale and exhale and just throw you out of sync a little bit. So if you slow it down, it allows you to soften into the pose more. And it means if you go slightly off balance, it gives you more time to adjust. On the exhale, we're going to release the hands again, kicking straight back into downward dog once more. Continue to breathe. And then from here, just lowering onto our knees. We're just going to have a little bit of fun here. We're not going to quite go into a full headstand, but what we're going to do is we're going to bring our forearms down to the ground in a nice wide triangle, grabbing hold of our fingers and cupping them open so that there's space for our head to rest. We're just going to continue to stretch out the legs here, but playing around with starting to introduce what will eventually turn into a headstand. So the purpose here, we're going to cup our hands together, have them on the floor, nice wide triangle, pushing into the elbows. We're going to take the crown of our head and we're going to place it just in front of the cupped position of our hands, like so. And then from here, we're just going to lift the bum up towards the ceiling and just slowly walk yourself in, taking your time here, no rush at all. We don't need to go the full way, just as high as you can comfortably. Raise your bum up, just getting used to being upside down. Don't need to lift your feet off the ground today, just getting used to this position, really engaging the arms here. Then on an exhale, we'll just bring the knees down to the floor, pushing back into child's pose, keeping our arms nice and extended. We're just reversing the motion here, softening into the floor. Don't worry if that movement felt a little bit awkward upside down. We're just playing around with the floor today. Okay, then from here we're going to come up into all fours. We're going to kick the left leg forward, coming up into a modified pigeon pose. So keeping the back leg nice and straight, taking the left leg and we're taking our calf, laying it out across the mat side to side, placing your hands wherever is comfortable, maybe on the mat in front of your leg, maybe on the thigh and the foot itself, and then just very softly bringing yourself into an upright position. We don't want to be forcing it, we don't want to be hunched with our elbows around our knees. We're still trying to get that nice extension up the back. Maybe making the chest nice and proud if you've got the room for it. Maybe lifting up the back knee. That'll just allow you a little bit more stretch further into the hip flexor. Then on an exhale, we'll come back down. And then we're just going to kick back and we're going to swap into a plank and then swap the legs around so that this time our right leg is on the mat side to side. Left leg nice and long behind us, pressing into the tops of the feet. Try to make sure the breathing is still nice and long, nice and consistent. And then from here, we're just going to sit back and swing that left leg towards the front of the mat. If you've got a block or a cushion or anything, feel free to use that here. This will just lift us a little bit more out of our lower back. Blokes especially don't quite have as much range in the hips, so any little boost we can get will help us out. All ego aside, we need a little bit of aids every now and again. Let's get a block under there. We're just going to open the hips out similar to when we're in tree pose. We're going to bring the base of our right foot into the inside of our thigh, opening the knee out at 90 degrees. Going to inhale up, reaching for the ceiling, nice big inhale. And then exhale, leaning forward, reaching for the foot in front. If you can't quite reach there, don't worry about it. You can grab any part of the leg that feels comfortable, maybe the ankle, maybe the toes. Nice big inhale and exhale, really stretch nice and long. So we're not trying to force ourselves down, we're trying to reach the crown of our head towards our toes. And naturally, as we start to lengthen the spine, we'll naturally start to move towards the mat. Maybe eventually one day getting our nose to touch our knee. Don't worry if today's not that day. Then on an inhale, coming up, we're just going to swap over the legs, taking the right leg out nice and long, left foot, into our thigh, opening the leg out 90 degrees, inhaling up, and then exhale, fold forward. Remember, keep the shoulders away from the ears. Then on an inhale, we're going to rise up nice and strong, and we're going to lean back, coming into boat pose. So here, what we want to begin doing, bringing our knees up, we're going to start leaning back, trying to engage the core. If we go too far, we start feeling the hip flexors. We want to bring ourselves slightly back up again. And then as we do that, we want to lift the legs up. Let's go for 90 degrees today, nothing too strenuous, hopefully. Arms out nice and long by our side. We're just going to Breathe nice and deeply here for 5 breaths. One. So as you inhale, really fill up the torso, the full body. And then as you exhale, really exhale, vacuuming out every part of the torso, especially the abdomen. You'll feel your abs begin to really engage the core, firing on all cylinders. Then on an exhale, release. Just take our legs down to the ground. We're going to take our left leg, pull the knee up, and we're going to cross it over our right leg. Sitting up nice and strong, nice and tall. Going to take our right arm, inhale up to the ceiling, exhale, bring it into the outside of the left leg. Really pushing against each other, leg against arm. Take a nice big inhale. And then as we exhale, start to rotate the torso around, maybe looking over our back shoulder, if that's available to you. If not, just focus on trying to get up nice and tall. And then if you find yourself the room for a little bit of rotation, start to introduce it. And then on your next exhale, slowly rotating back around to the front. And we're just going to take it to the other side, bringing our right knee in, crossing the leg over, bringing our left arm up and over as well. Get that engagement between your arm and leg. Nice big inhale. And then exhale. Begin to rotate around as far as comfortable for you today. And on your next exhale, release the posture, bring your legs over, and then we're just going to nice and slowly flip over onto our front. So we've done a lot of forward folding today. We're just going to counterbalance that with some extensions. So coming down to the floor, we're just going to take our forearms to the ground, elbows in line with shoulders. We're just going to inhale up into Sphinx pose, keeping the shoulders down and away from the ears. See if you can pull your chest nice and proud through the space that you've opened up. Exhaling down to the floor. This time bringing our hands to our lower ribs. On a nice big inhale, we'll push straight up into upward facing dog. So we should be ideally leaning onto only the top sides of our feet. If this feels a little too intense, feel free to drop the knees to the ground for a little bit more support. And exhale back to the ground again. So from here, Going to go into snake pose. So we're going to bring our arms behind us, just lifting them off the ground, palms facing the floor. And as we inhale, we're going to peel the shoulders up away from the floor, lifting our chest off the ground. Maybe looking forward if that's available to you. Continue to breathe nice and deeply. And then exhale back to the ground. And then for this next move, we're going to do similar, but we're going to engage the hands together, locking them, creating a bind. Then on an inhale, we're going to pull the shoulders back again, try and get our hands as far away from our head as possible. Lifting the chest off the floor. Now this may look different for everyone, depending on your level of flexibility. And exhale back to the ground. Then one last time, I'm going to flip over into Shavasana for a well-earned rest from those movements. So well done today. Not all those movements are the easiest. So we're just going to get up nice and long, let the feet just splay to the sides, tops the hands on the floor, opening up the shoulders, tucking the chin ever so slightly. Take a nice big inhale. Hold it for a few seconds. And then exhale rapidly through the mouth. One last time. Inhale in. Biggest breath you've taken all day. Hold it at the top. And then let it all go. So just let the body soften here. We're just trying to let every part of our body, from our limbs to our torso, to the back of our head, just try and get them to sink into the mat below us. Soften the breath. Check in with the body, starting at the head. Just notice if you're scrunching any muscles, especially around the face and the eyes. If you notice a little bit of tension, see if you can find a way just to loosen them off, even just marginally. Just letting everything come to steady state, nice and neutral. Next, try the shoulders. Are they nice and aligned? We're not tensing them, we're not hunching them, not pushing them into the mat. Just letting them hang low. Next is our arms. Checking down the torso. Check, see we're not trying to tense our abs here. Just letting everything breathe nice and fluid. Letting the stomach rise as we inhale. And contract as we exhale. Lastly, down the legs. Just making sure everything's still nice and loose. We're not pushing our ankles into the ground. Okay, and feel free to pause the video and remain longer if you feel you want to. Otherwise, begin to rotate the ankles and the wrists, introducing some nice slow movement back into the body. Wiggling the toes and the fingers. Then in your own time, we're going to roll over onto our right side, up to a seated position. Whichever side really gets you back upright. Maybe sitting on a block if you still have one by your side. We're just going to finish off, keeping the eyes softened or closed, really pulling ourselves up by the crown of the head towards the ceiling, trying to keep that elongation going for a few seconds longer. And if your eyes are softened or closed, feel free to flutter the eyelids, allow the light back in. One last big inhale. And thank you for joining me today. Namaste.